photo come up? Well, I'm a primary school teacher, and this is a photo of me. The fabulous grade 3, Ingleburn Public School, 1974. And here's a photo of me. Yes, I did have hair at some stage. Oh, the clicker's not going to work. Oh, there we go. Look, I was a kid from a fairly typical Aussie family, growing up in southwestern Sydney, working class generally. But what was pretty tough for me was that my family was a victim of domestic violence with a lot of alcohol in our family. So growing up wasn't particularly easy for me. I was a little boy who got belted a lot by his dad. And I knew my father loved me, but he just couldn't tell me. Instead, he would tell me things like, "You're good for nothing." He would ridicule me and punish me if I made a mistake in an exam. And my dad, who was really successful in sport, I know he was so disappointed in me when I didn't like cricket. I wasn't very good at playing rugby. He would tell me that I was born a useless boy. So somehow I loved school because for me it was a safe haven. And I especially loved Mrs. Macmillan. She was my most favourite of all teachers. Mrs. Macmillan, she captured me. She captured my sense of imagination. She captured my curiosity. She captured my sense of adventure. But she particularly captured my heart. I had the biggest crush on her ever. So much so that I wanted to be a primary school teacher when I grew up. So at the age of 8, I made the decision that's what I would do. And so as a little boy, I would sit there in class with my notepad and I would write furiously all the good ideas that I could do when I would become a teacher. If Mrs. Macmillan did something really great and wonderful and fun, I'd write it in. Because when I was growing up, I would do it too. God used a teacher to set the course of my life, and he used other teachers as well. I'm thankful that there was a teacher at my school who every year would invite a travelling evangelist, and this man would come with his puppets and his piano accordion, and he would just captivate me with his stories of this man named Jesus. And it was a teacher who also influenced me to make the biggest decision of my life. As a troubled and pretty unhappy teenager, I decided to give my life to Jesus. And I didn't know it at the time, but this teacher was praying for me. And I respected this guy, and I really admired him. And I wanted to be like him. I knew he was a Christian, so if he was a Christian, I thought I can be one too. And I'm sure for most of us here, that if you could tell the story, you could, of a teacher who has had a significant influence in your life. And so often it's not that we remember what they taught us, but we remember that they were kind and we remember that they believed in us. As principal, my job is pretty intense and tough and demanding. And over the 9 years, it's never really got any easier. Ultimately, I'm reminded though that the work that we do as educators is all about people and relationships. In community, we do life with people. Perhaps one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do as principal was to tell a little boy that his dad was not going to win his long-standing battle with a brain tumour. The dad only had a couple of weeks to live, and Mum just didn't have the strength, the courage and the energy to sit down and tell her son this devastating news. So she asked me, and we sat in my office, and it's something I'll never forget. And in my school, I'm really fortunate to be able to tell people about Jesus, but I know it's not like that for all teachers. They're not allowed to. And so, regardless of what sector you work in or what system, Catholic, independent or state, whether it's a preschool, an infant, a primary or high school, perhaps it's a university or a TAFE or a college, or perhaps in adult education. As educators, you must never forget that you shine Christ's light. And your students are drawn to you, whether you realize it or not. They see him in you. They need you. In my school, I've been able to lead a rigorous design project. And in that design project, what we're doing is we're examining classrooms of the future. We're looking at how we can maximize student learning and equip teachers to do their very best. We've knocked down the walls of the traditional classrooms to create beautiful, creative, flexible, and innovative classrooms. Research tells us that in this very uncertain world, that children need a very different skill set. And if they're going to be successful in the workplace and in life in general, we have to do away with the traditional classrooms that we can relate to with their rows of desks and their textbooks. So what is it that students need for success in this day and age and in the future? Well, they need things like this. They need problem solving, collaboration, entrepreneurial skills, communication, leadership, resilience, digital literacy, global awareness, action and service, stewardship, responsibility, and media fluency. As educators, our responsibility lies not just in the classroom and the lessons that we teach, but it goes beyond this. It may actually go beyond just making sure that your students are given breakfast in the morning or having a hearty meal at lunchtime. Our work is as expansive as drug education, child protection, conflict resolution, justice for Indigenous students, refugees, advocacy for students with disabilities, environmental education, writing curriculum, and perhaps even contributing to policy making at a national level. If you're an educator here today, I would encourage you as you serve God to ask him, how can you serve him and how can he provide opportunities to go beyond the classroom and beyond the school gates? For me, I have had the privilege of travelling in my school holidays to Vision Rescue. When in Mumbai, what I do is I work as a mentor and help the teachers with their teaching. We teach them with things like how to do maths, how to deal with difficult behaviour in students. Pastor Biju once said to me, if you teach one teacher, you are teaching 1,000 children. And after that, in Mumbai, I travel up north to a remote town up in the foothills of the Himalayas where we've set up a charity. And there we support a local pastor and we're building classrooms and providing meals for kids who live in slums and in villages wouldn't go to school at all. Here's a photo of our most newest classroom, just a couple of months old. And when I work with these kids, what I realise and constantly reminded of is that education empowers. These children who live in such heartbreaking poverty are given a hope and a future. They tell stories of becoming a doctor, a teacher, a tailor, a shopkeeper. Education empowers. And because of education, these beautiful kids now have a voice. They now tell stories and they dream the dreams that they dream. And the same is true no matter where you are. Whether it's back here in Sydney, a teacher helps children to discover their gifts, their passions, their place and purpose in life. Yes, our classrooms can be places of learning, but they have to be much more than this. They can be and should be places of acceptance, of safety, of refuge, belonging, possibility, redemption, and hope for the future. 10 years ago, my wife and I took our kids on a round-the-world adventure. And here we are at the Matterhorn in Switzerland. And as I was standing there, captured by that view, I remembered Mrs. Macmillan. And I thanked God for her because it was Mrs. Macmillan who taught me about Switzerland. She was the reason why I was here with my family. It was my teacher who took me to a mountain. This is what teachers do. They empower us to tell stories, to dream dreams, and to stand on mountains. Thank you.